I've been wanting to watch this movie since it came out, and I'm so glad that I got to do it in this way, where I watched Tangerine and the Florida Project just prior, because it does make for a great marathon. If you're feeling like exploring the reality of communities in underdeveloped areas of the US, I guess you have a few routes. You have trashy, exploitive, out of touch docuseries in Max, since now Discovery owns HBO. You could also watch John Waters movies,
How's my little princess today?
Mr. Eggman! Oh! Mr.
or you could give a watch to this unofficial trilogy of movies where Sean Baker shines a spotlight onto these real life characters that may come or have gone into living very different lives to ours. And yet, they are capable of holding a mirror to ourselves in ways that we at times don't think possible. This one in particular, I would say though, I find a little harder to recommend versus the other two. And not because of the quality of it, but the subject matter of this one may just be uncomfortable for some people out there. It was uncomfortable for me at times. However, I had a blast watching this movie. Red Rocket has most of, if not all, the ingredients that the other two movies have. This one just shuffled pieces and dynamics around a little more. In this one, we follow almost exclusively one single character. Our main character, Mikey, portrayed by a perfectly casted Simon Rex. He is this middle-aged guy who comes back to his small Texas hometown after failing to make a successful life in Hollywood. Early on, we get to find out Mikey has been working as a porn actor for the past 2 decades. In this trilogy, we went from California to Florida, and the only next logical step was certainly Texas. A very lived-in town in Texas. You feel it in every corner, every house. I really wish I didn't have to say more. I believe this movie being experienced knowing zero to nothing about it makes every little discovery so great. But if you really need me to talk about it, here I go. This movie is a hard watch because of the development of our main character. He starts the movie as this very charming guy. You really feel for him. The opening scene, he's coming back home looking for a place to stay in order to launch back his life. He's all bruised up, he's walking through the streets with Bye 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 by NSYNC playing in the background. Great choice of song, by the way, and it actually develops a motif through the movie. Just genius shit. As you see Mike interact with more and more people throughout the movie, you start seeing this hustler persona to him, his chameleon approach to life, where he would adjust his personality based on what he wants to get out of people. While it is made clear to the audience early on that Mike is not without his major flaws, this movie really shines in its subtleties. It doesn't explicitly tell you how to feel about Mikey. And like I said, we are with Mikey almost every shot of the movie. This is one of the most important qualities of Sean as a filmmaker. The way he portrays his characters are never judgmental. On the contrary, he knows how to present these archetypes as a pathway into their psyche. Because he's so fascinated by the complexity of the characters, then he's able to transfer that fascination into us, the audience. It's a character study done in a way that you just don't see very often done in cinema nowadays. Aesthetically as well, this movie feels like a callback to how movies were done back in the 70s, the golden era of auteur cinema, or the golden era of cinema in general, to my personal opinion. The strong sense of community also has a place to shine in this movie. Interestingly enough, you just get the feeling that Mikey is not part of this community, which also plays a subtle but strong point in the movie, which seems so much more impactful when you put it in the context of not just this movie, but Sean's overarching themes throughout his filmography. I'm really trying to sell you on this as a trilogy because it truly works as one, which says so much of Sean as a writer. When you have this concept, this essence for a film, and he becomes successful like he did with Tangerine, how do you continue to manipulate your formula? Well, the Florida Project was in many ways very similar to Tangerine, just bigger, badder, and with more budget, as sequels should be. For the third installment, you want to bring that essence back, but you have to change things a little more than you did before. Can be caught in a creative loop. What do? Well, you do these. You play with structure, while yet once again, you get to explore these underlooked places of the world and tell a story that showcase real aspects of these communities. As the movie progresses, it gets tough to know where the movie is going, especially if you're thinking of a regular movie structure. Characters lie to each other, they lie to themselves, and they lie to us in the process. Some of them are better liars than others, though. The catalyst moment of the movie comes when we, alongside Mikey, meet Strawberry, a 17-year-old girl who works at the local donut shop. As Mikey gets to deepen his relationship with Strawberry, he starts to see her as an opportunity to get back to the life that he once had. From there on, the whole movie feels like a rubber band being stretched and stretched. You know it's going to burst, but in the meantime, you're going through this tense, uncomfortable ride trying to figure out, where are we headed with these? Where are we going, Mikey? Speaking of, there is a scene close to the end that sort of comes out of nowhere that I feel perfectly encapsulates this movie. Once you actually watch the whole thing and you think back to that scene and its resolution, it makes for an interesting parallel to the end of the movie. I love Sean Baker's endings. They're the total opposite of what a traditional movie ending is supposed to be. And the reason for that is, well, his movies are about real life. There is no Hollywood ending in real life, not for most of us, and not for the realities these characters experience. The casting in this one is another home run. Every first time actor in this movie is just so great. They felt even less performative than some of the other first time actors in the previous movies. I mean, the mom character, the neighbor, they're so genuine. The character of Ernesto, the son of this other family in the movie, he was so specifically funny to me. Um, Look, I've met Ernesto, I've been Ernesto, I just get him. The professional actresses were phenomenal. The ex wife character, Strawberry herself, everyone is a joy to watch. I really encourage everyone to look up at some point, ideally after watching the movie, the concept of suitcase pimp, in case that, like me, you don't know what it means. By watching the three in a row, you get all of these nuggets of the Sean Baker treatment. His openings against a colorful background, the scratch up yellow table on Tangerine, the freshly purple painted wall on the Florida Project, and the more somber tones of the bus chair in Red Rocket. Recurrent actors coming back, types of location, themes. It builds a holistic personality to all his movies. And I mean, idiosyncratic directors are ultimately the backbone of independent cinema. So, cinema is in a complicated space right now. Audiences are more fragmented than ever when it comes to their relationship with a media like cinema that heavily relies on communal experience, shared experience. We've unfortunately lost a lot of ground when it comes to communal experiences thanks to a bunch of factors. But three that pop directly in my mind are the advances of technology, that being phones, bigger TVs, sound systems, computers, the internet, all these modern devices that make it staying at home oh so comfortable, oh so convenient. Number two, societal anxieties and communal distrust that have very quickly risen up in the past decades, caused by the fear to the horrors of human nature and the availability to a seemingly infinite source of information with the ability to validate any and every radical or poorly educated opinion we may have, plus exposing scandalous revelations about the institutions that more or less control our lives, making us, especially younger generations, a bunch of confused, anxious, and depressed characters trying to build social masks and armors that allow us to navigate the coldness and the harshness of the world outside the four walls we're most likely renting and paying way too much for. Kind of like the Battinson. Without the struggling to pay rent part, of course, he's a billionaire. Billionaire? He has a lot of fucking money. All that in COVID has done plenty to crack the relationship we have with our community. Social media has, I believe, amplified political polarization. In general, people, I think, nowadays make their ideals about society a stronger part of their personality. I don't know that for the average person that was as present before, but correct me if you're older than me. Thank you. The 90s saw an era defining wave of independent films that served to launch careers and dictated an important change in the industry. Independent films made up some of the most iconic films the decade had to offer. The lower budgets and the freedom given to artists allowed them to experiment, while also forcing creativity out of necessity. Independent films had risen up as an answer to the damage the 80s did for movies. From an artistic standpoint, I, generally speaking, despise the American cinema from the 80s. Sure, there are important highlights in that decade, great artists made breakouts, but I'm not too keen on Spielberg movies. Not now, not when I was younger, and Spielberg movies are understood today as the quintessential 80s movie. The 80s were a decade filled with censorship, satanic panic, conservative leaders, and their ideals wanting to strip back on all the degenerate ideologies the 70s brought, with its hippies doing psychedelics and claiming for peace and love and no showers, and all these erratic, powerful people with their coke fueled ideas. While society progresses forward, it is also true that it has a cyclical way to evolve. And art, or cinema specifically, consistently finds a way to reflect contemporary subjects, fears, fascinations, idealistic notions, etc. As a society, now more than ever, we've escalated into a relatively global society. We're constantly trying to fix the issues we have with the way the system is run and the ideals that will allow for the progress and the betterment of our communities. Problem is, we all just have varied ideas of what those issues in need to be fixed are. Probably a big reason behind why every other big movie is treated by the media as a political statement. Independent cinema has served as statements pro change, pro revolution, coming from individuals expressing themselves, versus what we get a lot of right now, just a lukewarm pot of progressive ideas coldly calculated by big corporations, making of revolution a fashionable commodity, an aesthetic, kind of like in the last Batman movie. And it's not to say before all good, now all bad. While it is true that cinema continues to weaken its capacity of having something to say and transcend entertainment, we have seen great artists. You have somebody like Jordan Peele framing it so perfectly it is scary. Gus Van Sant taking us so closely it is scary. But Riley making it so wild but real that it is, well, strangely depressing. The more economic imbalance there is, the more big studios will have a lasting chokehold of the landscape of cinema, enabling these truthful and raw takes on life to have a space to live. Furthermore, independent cinema has characterized itself for celebrating and exploring subject matters outside the mainstream zeitgeist. It's part of their nature to do so, while also having the signature imprinted from an artist that smears his passion over the project. From Sean Baker serving a spotlight into less fortunate corners of the country, to the director from I Saw the TV Glow, giving voice to a very specific human experience that, while it seems to not resonate at all with some people, has certainly had an immense impact on those who do relate. Thank you, Jane, thank you, Emma, and thank you to everybody involved for this movie. Art is, to me, an evolution in human communication. And cinema is, to me, the ultimate art form, the one that combines them all into one. I have no idea what would it be of the medium in 100 years. It is clear that the whole model around it is in deep need of a restructure. But I believe that it is important to fight for it, to see the value of people coming together, to seek for the value in the stories being told, build on perspective and empathy, and open yourself to understand where the ideas come from, even when they may not align with yours. It'd be beautiful if we can continue to have dialogues through art. This fine line between dialogue and preaching is also on the responsibility of the creators behind it. As with any medium, heavy-handedness will probably always remain present. But today, I'm thankful that Sean Baker is making movies. I loved the experience of watching these three movies, and I particularly loved watching Anora and see it flourish above cynical attempts of making valuable pieces of art. Fuck you, Emilia Perez.